Hi, my name is Zach Heeden, and this is how I made and released my latest EP, Shoko. So yeah, I guess I wasn't really planning on making an EP, it just kind of happens. You start for me anyway, sort of gathering little ideas, lyrics, melodies, little chord progressions and things, start just putting together, recording bits, and just sort of putting things together from there really. Sometimes they become like bigger songs, you throw things away, sometimes two songs will become one song. And I just kind of did that for 6 months. It's part of sort of creating a wider theme and narrative, kind of choosing what I wanted from the start. I think I sort of had an idea of what sort of vibe, feeling and sort of things I wanted to cover, both through the music and lyrics, and then sort of aimed for that, but also was still remained quite loose with things in terms of I wanted a collection of songs that sort of represented that rather than followed quite a strict narrative or story. So I sort of chose what things I was coming up with that could kind of fit into that, and maybe like you can always come up with things that don't really fit into this EP and you can save them for later, and sort of a collection of songs that are related but not really super close to each other necessarily. They're not, you don't have to listen to one to really understand the others, is my sort of goal with this. A loosely put together EP that everything is sort of part of a package and theme but doesn't necessarily rely on each other to give that message to the listener. It took about probably 6 months to write and record the EP. I went through a lot of different, probably more than any of my other EPs, a lot of different variations of each song and a lot of different recordings. Initially I found myself just sort of remaking some of my older songs, I felt, but with the new songs, so recording them the same way and using a lot of the same instruments and tones. So I really tried to shift away from that and create something a bit different. My biggest inspirations of this EP were definitely, I'd say, the three: Leonard Cohen, Sybil Bayer and Doji Morita. Three of my favourite artists, and if you listen to the EP you'd definitely I hope you see the influence. I definitely see it, and I think part of my sort of process of recording these songs, mainly the recording rather than writing for me, I'd say, was research. A lot of research into these artists, their songs, listening to their catalogues, looking for anything online, see to how they put together or breaking them down. People usually a lot cleverer than me can do that. And also just on things that are similar or general music. I kind of knew what tone, vibe, feeling I wanted to go for, and just anything I could find on how I could achieve that, as well as my own experimentation really fed into this. 6 months for an EP is quite short for me, which I'll get onto a bit later, why it's didn't take me as long as some other EPs, and it was kind of on purpose. But yeah, 6 months from sort of nothing to a full EP release, very quick for me, and yeah, it was definitely an experience. For me, the recording process is part of the writing process. How I'm recording a song and sort of how I'm mixing it and putting things together is almost just as important as sort of the melody and the guitar sometimes. So I sort of kind of write loosely a song and then it really comes together when I record it. And that's when I do everything on my own. So that's sort of when everything sort of comes together really, is like sort of recognize and understand the songs better and know what maybe should go in them, and like come up with more ideas as things go on. So I start putting the songs together all around the same time really. So there's 6 on this EP, and some came a bit later than others, but there wasn't sort of one I did, oh, this one's complete, move on to the next one. It's very much sort of bits and bobs of each of them, and for me that sort of helps. I learn things on one song that I might want to apply to another song, and I come up with ideas for songs as things go. So having them sort of all in progress all at the same time for pretty much the whole 6 months is sort of, that really works for me. So for my other EPs, the images were kind of an afterthought in a way, or the art, in terms of I'd created the EP and then I thought, oh, I need a cover and I need promotional images. And I set out to do that, and then by the time I've sort of finished all that and the EP's come out, for a lack of a better word, I've almost kind of stopped caring about it, or I'm definitely less interested and engaged with the work, and I wanted to avoid that this time. So about 4 months into the process out of 6, I got all the images done. I was looking for quite a gloomy inner city vibe for this shoot, and I was sort of doing a lot of research, and I live in a capital city, so kind of going around where I live looking for places that would do good for the shoot, or sort of looking at nearby cities and towns that might work for that. And then it was actually a friend that came up with this idea. I realized I had a trip to Tokyo coming up, and it would be great if I could get images there. So that's exactly what I did. I got a very small film camera. This film camera, it's the Kodak Ektar H35. It's like a disposable camera, but you can replace the film. Bit of a foolproof camera. There's a flash and you just press the button to take a picture. Because I'm not a photographer and I know nothing about cameras, so it's sort of quite an easy one to do. I did a lot of research on what film I wanted. I got the Santa Color 100 from Analog Wonderland because that really fit the sort of aesthetic I was going for, quite washed out images. And I took it to Japan. It was a bit of a risk relying on the EP photos for that. One, because the film might get destroyed through the airport X-ray machine, And also, I'm not a photographer, like I said, and it's on film, so I can't really check the images until they're fully done. So I just kind of had to hope they turned out well. I was with someone, so they took pictures of me for the cover and stuff, and I took pictures of whatever I thought looked cool, and I love them. I'm really happy that it turned out. Not every picture is amazing, but I think they really fit the EP and the vibe, and visually this has been my favorite EP yet, and I'm really happy with them. There's also the sort of uniqueness of I took all these pictures in somewhere I don't get to go very often on a film camera, and it's just really special. And they really fit the vibe, and I'm really happy with them. Being that happy with the images really made the EP feel like more of a full package compared to my other ones. I was happy with the images and really liked how they turned out with other EPs, but this felt like a new level. And it may be personal because I also took the pictures rather than having a photographer take them. It made the EP feel like more of a full package and sort of connected to itself, and I was really happy with that. I don't think you can sort of put too high a value on what a good image can do for an EP. So, the release. I mentioned that this EP was a lot shorter in terms of recording and writing than others. I did it in 6 months, and that was purposeful, not from the get-go, but when I got about 4 months into it, I'm definitely someone who could record this EP for the rest of my life and never be fully happy with it and would just never release it. So I picked a date, the 1st of March, roughly 6 months after I started it, and just said I will release it on this day. So that gives me about 2 weeks before the 1st of March to finish it, because I like to put it up for streaming about 2 weeks before it'll go live, just to make sure there's no issues and everything goes okay, because I put everything through CD Baby, and it can take a bit of time for them to approve things and for everything to be signed off and done. So yeah, I had about 1.5 months left to finish the EP at that point then. I was kind of nearly done, so that was quite realistic, but there's also things I had to sort of cut back on or not do or keep in mind. I needed to, for myself, I needed to reach that deadline, because otherwise this EP would never come out. I've known people who have been working on like a single track for years, and that's great, and that can work for some people, but I didn't want this EP to be that, partially because I get bored of things really quickly as well. It's quite a bad thing, but if I worked on that too long, I'd get bored and probably drop it or just sort of work on it for the rest of my life. And I wanted to hit the ground running with it and release it when I was still really in the mood for this EP, I guess. So that's why I picked that date and worked really hard to get to it. So ahead of the release, as well as working on the EP itself, I was creating all the promotional images for it, for social media and my website and things. This included a lot of stuff. I created a track list, I created sort of countdown images, I got the cover, and I made sure I had lots of miscellaneous edited images just for use of different stuff. Whatever I needed, it's always nice to have backups like that. So yeah, I wanted everything to feel sort of cohesive across all my socials and my website. So I wanted everything to feel very Shoko. So I used sort of cover images across all of them and made sure that the visual part of the EP was very present on everything. That's on my main focus was Instagram, because that's just my favorite. That's the one I like using the most. So I was like posting a lot on my stories, and just posting a lot in general, and everything was very Shoko themed for like probably like a month before and after the EP came out, across all my channels as well though. I also created Spotify canvases. 2 of them were some videos I took while I was in Tokyo on my phone. I sort of edited them a bit and I thought they looked quite good enough at least. And then the others I made just sort of short slideshows of some of the images from the EP, because I wasn't there. I had quite a lot of miscellaneous images from Tokyo that I really liked but wasn't really sure how to use them, so I used them for the canvases. Just really easy, simple slideshows I put together, and I think they work really well, and I'm really happy I got to use those images as well. And then the EP came out. I announced it on my socials, on my website, many places I could really. I had an announcement post that I posted everywhere. I was posting the canvases to my Instagram story through Spotify, so sharing them and then using the Instagram music feature on stories to sort of put the tracks over that, and just telling all the friends I could about it, and just making sure as many people as possible knew that the EP was out and that I was talking about it and that it was out there. And it went really well. The EP's been out for just over a month, probably a month and a week, and it's got more streams than both my other EPs put together, and they've been out for over a year. So I'm really happy with that, and I think it worked really well for me, and I'm really happy with the campaign. It fit into what I was looking to do, and I just really enjoyed doing it, which is, I guess, the most important part. I also boosted this on Meta. My announcement post on Instagram, I boosted that across Meta in the city I live in and some cities nearby, and it went really well. I got a lot more engagement on the post than I would normally get, and a lot more, and I like to think that's part of why I got a lot more streams as well. I didn't put too much money behind it, and I ran the ad for a week, but I felt like it was really effective, and it's so easy to set up, and it really worked for me. So I could have done a lot more though. I didn't create much content for this EP. There wasn't much visual content, no videos. I've done more in the past when they used to have Instagram guides. I created one for my previous single, Peach Milk. I was really long and I really enjoyed doing that. But I didn't create much for this, and that's because I didn't want to. I don't really enjoy that. You can make sort of all sorts of really easy, really effective TikTok content if you sing into the camera of your single and doing moves, whatever, playing it live. You can get so creative with it. And between having sort of a full-time day job and being quite tired, I wanted to get the EP out and not really enjoying doing that. I just didn't. And I could have got probably a lot more streams, have been a lot more effective, people have been a lot more engaged if I had done that. But I didn't want to, and I just wanted to have fun with it and just release it and do what I wanted to do and not care too much, because I'm never going to get a bajillion streams anyway. So I just wanted to enjoy it, and I opted not to make that content. If you do, I think that's great, and I think you could get a lot more out of it by doing that, but I didn't really want to put the energy into that, and I think that's also okay. At the end of the day, it's your release and you can do what you want with it, and if you're happy with 5 streams or you're not happy until you get 1 million, do what you've got to do, I suppose, and do what you want to do. So that was the making and the release of my 30p Shoko. I hope you got something out of that and it wasn't sort of just rambling, but that was the process from beginning to release. And there's still some life in this EP. It's only been about a month and a week since it came out, but that's what it was like, sort of put it together and get it out there and be satisfied with it. Like I said, there's a lot more you can do with it, and I'd love to hear what other people have done, what things I could have done better, what things I've missed, if you like the EP. And just thank you for watching, I suppose.